South African artist by way of Canada. We're super thrilled to have you on the show. Thank you for coming. Thank you for agreeing to be on this ridiculous podcast. We have a select few people who have agreed to be on the show. Which our list, I think, has run out now. I think we're at 4 people. So
just watch something else. Days of Our Lives, maybe.
If you're super into soap operas or completely AI generated content, this podcast is not for you.
No, not at all.
Just to clarify, you don't actually need to be a dad to be on the show.
You could even be a poet.
Yeah, there's an idea. There's something I had not yet considered to be. I had not considered that as a life path, but you've inspired me.
Rockets!
Welcome to episode 4 of Rock Dads. Today we have Croc E. Moses. He's an amazing poet, musician, and visual artist. Welcome, Croc E.
Yeah, Good evening, gentlemen.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Very nice to have you. So you are a musician who used to be a drummer.
Indeed.
And then what happened?
Well, being a drummer was in the days when there was a music industry that, you're selling CDs. It was before the internet. And I think, I was in my 20s, had dreams, good, honest dreams, but also, a little bit highfalutin ideas of becoming a rock star. But my heart was in the music and the band the main band, I was in several bands, but the main band that I was last in was heavily in the music industry. We signed, the band went on to sign with Virgin Records.
Oh, wow.
And that's at that point that I was released, shall we say.
I know that feeling.
No, that's good. It's so glad to have you here, and I think we're gonna have a nice conversation today.
I'm ready for this.
Man.
This doesn't come along every day, so here we are.
So I love your backstory. So you are originally from Alberta.
Actually, born in Yellowknife.
But even cooler.
Yeah.
Even cooler. And you spent the first, was it 17 years of your life in Canada?
Yeah.
And then you made a giant move to South Africa.
Yeah. Initially, it was what was then known as Swaziland. It's now known as Eswatini.
Right.
Small little country. I was there for 2 years at an international school, fell in love with the region, the culture, the lifestyle, the climate, the geography. Yeah. Finished my 2-year program, went back to Canada, and then after 4 months, I went back to Africa and haven't looked back.
Amazing. The call of that perfect weather system must have been amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot to it. I obviously, at that young age, I was 19 when I went back to Swaziland. And I didn't have the kind of maturity to understand, how to read my mind or my intuition. It was just like a gut feeling. Now that I look back, there's several strands to why I've made that choice, and I have no regrets.
Did you start your music career in Yellowknife or in Africa after?
In Africa,
in Africa, okay.
Yeah. Okay. And initially, it's interesting. You ask if I started my career. I have always been a doodler. As a kid, so you could argue that's where the creative spark started.
Yeah.
But it then found expression.
Yeah, that's awesome.
In drums, it was first drumming in and out of different bands. Fetish was the last band that I mentioned. That's the band that signed with Virgin.
Yeah.
In fact, while we're on the point, I've got a surprise for you.
What's this?
This is pieces of South African rock memorabilia. That's the debut album. I brought one of those for each of you guys.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, just
this
to surprise you.
Way, that is crazy.
This is beautiful.
So with
cool is that?
That debut album, I used to run a design studio, and one of the things we did in the design studio was I worked with a Zambian guy, Michael. I can't remember his surname. It's been 30 years. So he did this tie-dye, this form of tie-dye, not your traditional that you sort of would know in like the hippie tie-dye. It's a different, and he did these different styles, and we collaborated on producing this cloth.
This is wild.
And then
like it's an actual cloth cover.
Yeah.
So we had these offcuts, these scraps, and I just put two and two together that wouldn't it be interesting to make a CD cover with these scrap bits of tie-dye cloth,
That's
African.
so wild.
So each one is different.
This is amazing.
I love it. And I noticed this was made in 1997.
That's right.
Which is where all space and time converged to create the greatest musical year of all time, in my opinion. So
that's right. There's
something about that, right?
Yeah.
There's something about 1997. It was also the year that I started my first band, so maybe I'm
biased a little bit.
A little bit biased, but the music from that era is still, there's something about it. It's like the cumulative effect of
I wasn't born yet, but it's no, but I'm just kidding. But now this year, 90s, the 90s. I keep crying about my age, man. No, but this era, like the 90s, we talk about this all the time. Was one of the best time for music. That was 70s, obviously. The 80s, I find that there was a little bit more electronic and exploring the electronic, like Depeche Mode. Depeche Mode is a great band, by the way.
Yeah, I love Depeche Mode.
But the 90s changed everything, like the grunge, all this rock, everything, like all types of music that they came from the 90s. I love this. Thank you so much, though.
Yeah, it's an absolute
wild
pleasure. I thought it'd surprise you just for fun.
I love it.
Awesome.
I love it. Thank you so much. But that's so cool. And this is, there's an example of how I really believe that creative artists, particularly people who have a knowledge of the visual field, you can easily get into music. I think there's transferable ideas there in terms of creating projects and how things fit together, and this goes with that, this color goes with that. It's very much like music, isn't it? It's like, you select your palette and you kind of paint away, and that becomes something so cool and amazing. And
it's this sort of commonality is patterns and rhythm, like visual art, like you can see there's a lot of rhythm in that. I mean, if that makes any sense.
100%. That's so interesting. Amazing. That actually it kind of it brings up a little bit of my sort of late teen kind of pains when I hear what happened to you, because so I was in a band and I had various members who were, playing and even living with me at the time. And I remember a couple of them were also in a different band.
Right.
And they went on to get record deals. And half of them went to become the Stills. And the other half, so one guy he was a very good friend of mine, and shout out to Mike Dyball, who was the bass player who played with me. He went off to a band called Priestess, who was a very prolific touring band, early 2000s. They did some amazing music. And it's interesting because I don't know if you feel this way too, but, seeing all your friends succeed, I mean, you're so cheering them on, and it's wonderful. And then at the same time, there's a slight bit of tragedy of the what if I had been involved in that and that type of thing. But we all have our own life path that we have to follow, and it's just okay, right? It's okay if something else happens and you become, again, imagine if you had just been the drummer, and thinking where your whole career has taken, this trajectory of, this exploration of music that you've done with your solo stuff and with Uda Thunk and visual artists, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's only so many hours in the day. So are you in a sense happy that it happened? Was it like a big bang event that sort of created this new universe of music for you?
Well, initially it was a huge shock, and there's that feeling of betrayal, and because I started the band with two of my best mates. But that aside, I can honestly and full-heartedly say it was the best thing that could have happened.
Wow!
And it's one of those sort of life lessons, those pivotal life lessons, where at the time it's just your blood courses with anger and. But you come through it, and what's emerged out of this is I found a path which started with spoken word poetry that then evolved into the sort of singer-songwriter genre.
Wow.
And everything in between. And so I can honestly say it was the best thing that happened, because I don't think I would have become the honest, fully expressed artist that I am. And I use the word honest because the poetry is, that's what I got into, spoken word poetry, after being the drummer for Fetish. That was a huge lesson in, can you express through words honestly what's deeply going on inside you, as well as can you express honestly what you're witnessing in the world.
Right.
Yeah. Can you really get there? Can you really have the guts to say what you're seeing and witnessing, and also be vulnerable and express what's going on inside yourself?
Do you find, I mean, this is something that I feel like for all musicians, we almost express our emotions better through song, through lyric, through the way that we deliver performances. I find that there are some emotions that we can only express through that, or depth of emotion that we can only access with the creative expression. Do you find that as well? Is it sort of...
Absolutely. And I think that's, it's not just music, but I think that's why the arts is so, the human arts, let's make a distinction here, is so precious and so, vital in this world that we're sliding into right now. And that's why I brought up the word honesty, because I believe we are sort of swimming in blurry lines of lies about lies. And so, honesty.
Yeah.
Can you just be honest?
For sure.
What you feel, what you think, what you see, in the face of whatever criticism might come away, whatever cancellation might come your way, or even in the context of Canada, you get labeled unacceptable,
right?
Yeah.
For just questioning, and my job is to bear witness as a poet. So our Prime Minister, basically labeled people like me as unacceptable, and I find that quite I find that quite a
freedom of expression was really squashed for quite a while. I find we're living in an era of a new type of warfare, and it's warfare on truth. It's warfare on honesty. It's a very polarizing world, and music has traditionally just brought people together. So I feel, can see beyond and know what a lunacy it is to try to divide people on such a level. Yeah. But it takes guts to actually stand up and say something when there's clear injustice happening in the world. And so it's very interesting. I mean, you've come back and forth between South Africa, Canada, and you've seen through pockets of time the evolution of what's happened in Canada and South Africa.
Yeah.
So does that give you pause in the trajectory that we're headed currently? I think everyone is concerned about the state of the world on so many levels, but seeing again the sort of the levels of injustice and censorship and all that kind of stuff. Have you felt it especially high in Canada when you've gone away and come back?
Absolutely. Canada, I'm still learning about. I've been based here, sort of going back and forth for the last 6 or 7 years. But having been here during COVID really kind of opened my eyes to what Canada is like politically. So, prior to COVID, it's hard to say what Canada was, because in a way I wasn't really here. Yeah. But what I'm witnessing does not inspire me. And but I think, and I hate to generalize, but I think what I'm witnessing is global. It's not just Canada, unique to Canada or South Africa. We're in a very we're in uncharted territory, and I believe the arts has a role in creating high resolution as best we can of what we're in, and so we need to have conversations about the past, describes what brought us here in as high resolution as possible, and we need to fight for that I don't know what else to call it, that precious thing of civil discourse. In other words, we need to fight for that thing of healthy disagreements.
The ability to agree to disagree is one of the most important life skills as any healthy, mature adult. And that's sort of been discouraged. And right?
It's shocking that how quickly that has been eroded, and it's vital for us to get that higher resolution picture of everyone contributing their sort of angle, and that there's an arena for that, there's a space for that. So I believe as artists we have a role that's more urgent than ever. So what am I talking about then? Well, so is it just about singing songs, or is it just about, music videos? Well, I think it comes down more to live performance. I think there's more that happens in a live performance than we can ever actually, it's inestimable is my way of it. There's just so much more that goes on there. And it's kind of beyond words and beyond the logic. It's the music, it's the rhythm, it's all of that. We're all in this space, kind of semi-unified for a moment in time. And I think that is beyond anything we can measure.
So I love what you said. You use the words high resolution, which to me has two meanings.
Oh wow, yeah.
Right? It's zooming in, and musicians really do that. They and artists bring attention to something that makes you feel something. Right. And brings up those emotions. And again, the best art just makes you feel something, whether good or bad, I think. So high resolution, zoom in. And then there's the high sense of resolution.
Oh, wow. Yes.
Right. Like you're sort of, we're uniting people. So it really made me, when you said that, beautiful. It made me think about the two sides of that. And it can all be summed up in that one phrase, I think.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. That's you're a good listener, Ben.
Oh no,
and I'm so grateful to be working with you. Just for the record, I'm lucky enough right now to be working with Ben on the first Uda Thunk album, which is a collaboration with Rob Beat, the drummer side of the project.
Drummer extraordinaire. Yeah. I'm so excited to be working on this project, and I have to say it defies genre and precedent. And every time I've tried to explain what it is that you guys are doing to other people, it's very difficult because I'm like, there's the kind of rhythm section that you might hear in like dub music or Chili Peppers, but then, it's like spoken word stuff almost veers on, it's like super poetry, like classic hip hop meets vocalizations. I mean, I didn't even know kind of where to put you. You're in a sort of a tier of your own, I would say, and it kind of makes something really unique and interesting. So I'm very excited about the prospect of showing people this album and just kind of opening people's eyes to something new and different. And you've sort of unashamedly gone with a very strict, cool concept that, like, it's acoustic guitar, it's vocals and vocalizations, mouth trumpet, all the things that you can do with your mouth.
That's awesome.
And drums, and no bass, and no synths, but some samples, but mood and rhythm and expression, and that it's very free flowing and very automatic from your end.
You think there's an influence from South Africa and stuff like that?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was about to say, because when you talked about the drums, my first thing was like, Africa is the place of drums.
Yeah.
there's nobody does better than them, like in their country, like their continent. It's amazing. So when you said, you know what, I was a drummer first, I was like, it makes a lot of sense. You're in the place that the drums basically
came from.
That's it. No, that's awesome. I can't wait to see that work, because the world needs this. I think we're getting to this age of AI, that it's so simple to create a song, so everybody can create a song, and there's not a human touch anymore. So being said, this brings a different vibe to the music business. Absolutely.
And it's we're touching on rhythm here, and that has been my teacher. And in hindsight, I can say, like, it's been a bit of an obsession, but a healthy obsession. But it's been my teacher, because it inadvertently I found myself starting with drums as my career as an artist started there. Really, well, you could say I was a doodler.
I like doodlist. That's great.
So I've been very, fortunate that I got immersed in the culture and the music of Southern Africa. So I, while I was being a drummer, I was also listening and going to live performances of a lot of Southern African musicians, well, also African musicians. So that I can't say enough, I can't emphasize enough how fortunate I've been, and that seeps into you. It's the rhythm thing seeps into you,
right?
And so what I'm partly trying to get to is that it's one thing to be a drummer in Africa, learning your instrument and expressing yourself as an artist, but then to then go into poetry and then to become a songwriter. In that context, rhythm is it's become me. Like, so the spoken word naturally was rhythm driven. The delivery would be just rhythm driven, because I'd been a drummer. So I've been really, what I'm trying to say is I've been studying rhythm. Because it whether it's water ripples or wind or just wherever, I sort of put on that lens of rhythm and like, teach me. And obviously rhythm and sound is because it's invisible, and there's a subliminal element to rhythm that goes past your logical mind. You just feel it. You go straight to your soul or your heart or whatever. It's and you can't even really talk about it. Isn't that interesting? Like, you can't talk about it, like, really.
Well, are you familiar with the expression that music is the space between the notes? Which entirely describes rhythm, because the space between each hit is literally your tempo and determines all kinds of things, right? But think about your heart pumping. It's like it pumps, and then while you're waiting, the blood circulates through your body, and then it pumps again. So in that in-between time, there's a lot of stuff that happens. But, psychologically with music, as soon as you hear, something happening, you start to fill in extra little blanks. I find, there's extra little melodies, extra little rhythms that are mind adds. In fact, sometimes I go back and I think I remember a riff or something from a famous song, and there are less notes in it than I remembered. And so I go to try playing it on the guitar, and I go, that actually is it's not what I remember, but my mind added extra stuff in. So, it's like people, they harmonize along to songs on the radio that don't have any harmonies, or, we always, we want to add that stuff. So rhythm is so beautiful because it's so direct and empty. And I find it's an amazing place to even start a song, because when you're writing, you start with this incredible beat, just as with this Uda Thunk stuff, like Rob's parts, have such an inspiration to them. Tell me if I'm sure you've taken inspiration from that and sort of gone off and written.
Oh yeah.
And but
just for the record, Uda Thunk actually started purely as two mates just jamming, and I couldn't even play guitar then. It was just me showing up at Rob's little drum shack. All I had was poems and my voice, and off we went. And then I picked up a guitar somewhere along the line as I was evolving the spoken word.
Right.
So initially it was me playing to him drumming.
Yeah.
How cool is that? Wow.
That's great.
And the other kind of obvious thing about rhythm that it hit me one day is that it's rhythm. So you heard me say rhythm is my teacher. So what do I mean by that? Well, part of what I've learned is that it's taught me how to listen deeply.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is that it's taught me to be able to listen in more than one place at one time. So if I'm playing with Rob on drums, it's taught me to not just linearly, logically listen and listen to what he's playing. Initially, you go there, and I'm playing guitar, listening to him. So yes, in the beginning, when I was a beginner, I would like force myself, listen to him and play in time. But you get to a point where you evolve your listening where it becomes automatic. And you're not telling your brain, you're not in your logical, linear mind. Something else happens.
Right.
Yeah. And that is what I mean by that it taught me how to listen. Because I never imagined that level of listening where it's, another way of saying is you're on the level of pure feeling.
Right.
And it's so light speed, your connection in terms of your playing together in the pocket.
And that's where you want to get to. You want to get to the place where it's absolutely second nature.
Yeah.
And you're feeling it and not having to think about it. And I mean, we've talked about this in the studio. I know we've talked about this. And it's the idea that once you start overthinking, you diminish how great the content is, in a sense, right? Like it's like you get to this place where you're compromising the feeling by trying to aim for technical perfection. And it's usually after you've done a number of takes and now, okay, all of a sudden I'm in there and I'm thinking about all the parts I'm doing, and it just loses a little bit of the magic. So hitting that if you get to the point with your abilities where you're operating on feeling and second nature, you can get the best results, in my opinion.
And just to be clear, I'm a beginner. Right? I've seen the light, but I'm a beginner.
That's because we're all in our early 30s. So
yeah, exactly, exactly. We're so young. This podcast should have a different name: the Young Rock Guys, not Rock Dads.
That's right.
No, but it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense what you guys are saying, because the moment that you start thinking too much about what you're doing, you kind of gotta lose the sense. You gotta lose the sense of what you're doing, right? And that's why if you go back in time, 70s, 60s, everything was made by instinct. Everything was created by instinct. So now I find, this is just my opinion, I find that music is not it's not being created by instinct, but by, how can I put this into words? We're creating because it needs to be that way. It's not instinct. It's square now.
Formulaic.
It's exactly. That's the word. So there's no instance. You know what I mean? There's nothing.
Yeah.
And I listen to new music and sometimes I think, well, why did they make something like this? Why did they create something like this? It's to sell, obviously. There's no other reason why you're making this. I was actually listening to this song yesterday that I saw on Lana Del Rey actually published. She didn't publish, but she showed that song. Oh, she put it on a poster.
Was it one of her songs or
no? Some other girl, and it's beautiful. Don't get me wrong, but why? Why it's so close to what everybody else is doing, and she has such a great voice that she could use that to something else. I'm not judging. This is just my opinion, but I don't know, man. It's changing. It's changing hardly and fast. We're losing.
Wow.
And what you guys are saying, like at the beginning, like the human touch in the music business and stuff like that.
So do you think, is what you're partly saying, do you think it's this thing where, when you said that music was made from our intuition, do you think, that the music, say back then, was led from that intuitive.
Yeah, from your heart.
From your heart. And
exactly.
and we respond to that naturally, and maybe we're moving away from that, and maybe that's that subliminal quality that it's just light speed.
Completely.
It's just like, you don't think, it's just, you feel it.
Yeah, I find that in the past, you will have like 4 people. Okay, let's go into the studio. I don't know how to play guitar. I don't know how to play bass, but let's make a sound. Let's create a sound, right? Now the sounds are there.
Yeah.
you go online, you have all the sounds. There's no thing to create something new, and that's actually what you're doing right now, creating something that it's not even doesn't exist basically, and it's so good because it makes a lot of difference in this business, right? And that's awesome.
I think to the attitude that I have been adopting is, and I even do it when I write songs. If I write it and then I go back and listen to it and I say, there's already something out there that is probably better than this, that resembles this. Why am I releasing this? It doesn't actually make any sense to put anything out if it's not going to be original. We already have that stuff. We have the whole, oracle of humanity on Spotify, essentially, which has, you can access pretty much any piece of music from all time. And, so much of it, again, I totally agree. Like, there's a lot of rehashed ideas and fan service and everything. I think a really good example of this in a parallel industry is the movie industry, where it's a lot of rehashing of ideas or remaking films. Look at when Disney bought Star Wars. It was like George Lucas actually, for all of his faults in the ways that people maybe criticize his movies, he was still doing original material. Some of it was better than others, but it was all original. And when Disney took it over, they decided to be safe, rehash ideas, basically recreate the original trilogy more or less in parallel with new ideas, new actors, new characters, and things like that. But I really think that this is the same thing with the music business. And I think there's a couple of things. You guys tell me what you think, but I think, in the 70s is a good example of, there was limited video and all that stuff there. Like the 80s hit hard with MTV. We suddenly had to have a music video attached, and there was a real image thing that was attached to the music more than just the songs. And so it became more of this, this downward spiral of this over commercialization corporate thing where it was less and less risk taking. Let's go and do this because that person has done it. That proved to be a success. So we know we can hit that market. Columbia Records already has an artist like this. So, this other record label, Universal over here, is going to take a parallel type of artist, and they're going to compete against each other in the marketplace. And, and now what's happened is it's gone so many years, I think, that there's just so much content and so many cyclical ideas and echo chambers and all that stuff that, again, I really don't think, this is a message for all you artists out there. If you're not doing something original, I actually don't think you should be releasing music. I think you should be releasing music that is contributing something to the world, in my opinion. And the best way to do that is to be yourself, because nobody has your voice. Nobody does what you do. If you are actually being yourself and doing original ideas that really are not trying to copy anybody, chances are you're going to do something new and different. It's when we say, like, you said Lana Del Rey, it's like a young singer wants to be Lana Del Rey, and this sound is going to be, I know that's that market. I'm going to try to target her fans and everything. And it's like, again, it's like you're contributing absolutely nothing to the world. You might be creating a small career for yourself, but you're not a thought leader at that point. And thought leaders are the ones who excel in the music business. Do you remember Gautier, somebody that I used to know? Everybody copied him after, right? He did something where the chorus didn't hit for like a minute and a half, minute 45, whatever it was. And then it came in, and it was the most like anticlimactic big song of the year. And I just remember thinking, like, this is brilliant. And then everybody all of a sudden took a turn. It was the same thing when Nirvana came out. Like, record labels dropped all kinds of metal acts when Nirvana came out. Said, that's it, it's over. Same thing where, the early 2000s hit. they dropped all their grunge acts because Britney Spears came
over. And Justin Timberlake and all that stuff.
You can't win, but
it's funny. I don't know if you guys ever watched the Beatles, the documentary.
The one directed by Peter Jackson.
I don't know if it's that one. I know that it's one that they're like in studio. There's one that Yoko Ono shows. And they're all pissed about it. But the thing is, like I said last time, I'm not a big fan of
It's
the
Get
Beatles.
Back. The 4-part miniseries.
I don't know if it's that. I saw one that they're in studio. It's a long one actually.
In color,
but there's a few pieces of footage that are black and white.
Okay.
And there's a scene that Yoko Ono is there, and they're all in the studio, and these guys, they're creating. Hey, what about if you put this here? What about let's try this? And it was so like a teamwork. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that was so nice. These days, I find that any kid can create a song at home. Simple. You press AI, that's it. Your song is here. You put your voice. You're done. And like I said, I'm not judging, but going back into that girl that I was listening, one of the things that she says in one song, and this all goes back into the business. I was the first one in my family to make $1 million. Why do you have to do that? Seriously. Like, who cares that you made $1 million? That's not part of music, man. I'm not gonna write
it's not part of music.
I never made $1 million.
That's a business. That's a business, right? And
in a
good
song,
for you in a business sense. But what does it have? Does it validate your art to make a lot of money?
Yeah, and it's not just that. The way that I see this, it's why you're passing that into kids that they gotta listen to this. What's the point here? Why the point here is it's all about money. That's what it is. You know what? That's the way that I think that's the way that we're going. It's all about money, all about power.
It's hard too because people like artists make so little money with Spotify streams and with all that stuff that they are taking to desperate measures to try to make a living. So it's all this alternative stuff of having to be an entertainer alongside of being an artist. And that's tough. I mean, what a thing to sign up for. Like, you're a musician who doesn't know how to act, and maybe we look more like musicians than movie stars and all this kind of stuff, and then all of a sudden we're expected to just snap into it and take on these roles, and it's a little bit like selling your soul. I find, like,
completely.
There are parts of it that are cool and interesting. I mean, I don't begrudge the idea of having to make videos and things like that necessarily. I think it can be an extension. It can be an art piece, extension of the music when done well. But there's a big divide. It's interesting. Like I think about the ways that music has been, like, music videos have impacted the digestion of music. So a really interesting music video to me was Just by Radiohead. Do you remember that one? And the Radiohead's playing in it's all black and white. They're playing in a room, and they're kind of looking out of the window onto the street, and on the street there's a guy lying on the ground, and he's just lying there, and this guy walks by and he's like, "Are you okay? Do you need some help?" And he's like, "Please, just go away. Go away. Don't ask me any questions." And then someone else comes by and says, "Are you okay? Can I help you up?" And he's like, "Please, just go away. Just go away." And then another person comes by, and another person, and eventually this crowd gathers around him, right? And they start chanting, like, "Tell us why you're lying there. Tell us." And they start getting really violent and angry. And then he's like, "You don't know what you're asking me. You don't know what you're asking me."
Yeah.
And then they start yelling louder and louder. And then they look at the guy, and the guy goes, "You want to know why I'm lying here? You want to know?" And then he, like, whispers something to them. And then it cuts to Radiohead, and they're playing the song, and it cuts back to the crowd, and everyone's lying on the ground.
Oh, that's
and they're
awesome.
all immobilized.
What's the name of the song?
Just.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's interesting because it kind of like it touches on that, is that their just reward or whatever it was. It kind of it ties into the song somehow, but it was really like a really deep thing that didn't, in my opinion, like just added to the song, didn't take away in any way.
Yeah.
But then you have some videos where it's just Ariana Grande on a bicycle, and that's that's okay too.
Yeah.
No shade on Ariana Grande, but it's a different level of intellectual depth.
So my question for you guys is: do you think that this is gonna change? And because we consider this as a cycle, everything as a cycle, right? You guys think this is going back into what used to be, or you think it's gonna have an explosion more into the internet and all these AI stuff? Do you think it's gonna change, or in your opinion, for example, because you make music completely different from?
Yeah. I think on one level there's something going on here that's unstoppable.
Yeah.
And it's connected to the acceleration of technology. So, now we've got the advent of AI, and that anyone can make a song.
Yeah.
So there's something connected to that that's unstoppable. Because you'll get the next generation that's born into that. They won't know any different. It's like if you were born before the internet, and if you were born into a time when the internet was just the norm. So that thing that's unstoppable, like Rick Beato talks about that, in terms of AI generated music being part of Spotify, and people, it's going to sort of groom people and the next generation, they won't know the difference. Yeah. But at the same time, I believe, this is just my opinion, I believe that there will be a natural, backlash, or there'll be a kind of like, and you'll get pockets, small niche pockets, lots of subcultures of people searching out something that moves them. And that will be kind of sort of trackable, because it'll be so many small niches. And I think that's where real art will exist. And I'm kind of borrowing some of these ideas from Jojo Meyer, that drummer from Switzerland. He talks about some of these ideas from his, I think 40 years of being on the road and seeing what's happening in the major art centers like New York, London, Paris, Tokyo. So yeah, I think there's, I don't want to call it a split. It's too easy to, because they will have each other in sight, I think. But I think what's at stake here is this thing that I would put down to, it's an erosion of the love of music. That's what I feel is at stake here. That's what's being eroded. And another way of looking at it, if we sort of zoom out and include all the arts, it's inspiration itself. Some people love films. Yeah. Some people love novels, books more than music. But that's in general, that's the arts, and that's inspiration, and we turn to those various things. So I think that's what's at stake. That something there is being eroded. Yeah. So the odd thing is that with the whole advent and acceleration of technology and AI, it might oddly just produce this sort of backlash that can't be tracked and measured. Yeah. And it might just simply be down to more and more people just saying, I'm not being moved by this. I'm looking for something that moves me. And they may not even articulate it in their mind. They're just feeling this emptiness. Yeah. And so they start turning, and then they discover some small singer from whatever, or some small and I think, if I look at the art that's moved me and across the genres, if I'm honest, it's not the big U2 concert. It's like, I saw, for example, some, like the Odd Engineers was this South African collaboration group of people they were artists that took found objects and they would go into a space like an old warehouse, and they'd create an event that was mostly mechanical, and it had this musical side to it. So they would, like for instance, the art engineers I saw in whatever year, 2000, I think, 2001, at the National Arts Festival, it was in an old warehouse, and on the top floor there, they had just this ledge, and they had this person braaiing. Braaiing's like barbecuing.
Right.
You could see him with a scuttle braai, and he was braaiing, but you were below. The audience was below, so you couldn't see what he was braaiing. But you could see him, it's a scuttle braai or barbecue, and he's got his tongs, so you know he's braaiing.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you start seeing these things popping up, and you go, oh, okay, like that looks like popcorn. And then suddenly these things start falling off the ledge, and then they start like more and more of them. And they've got like these old bellows connected with I don't know, some moving air system, vacuum system.
Right.
So on the floor. So these bellows are starting to do more and create these sounds, these drones. As these balls are starting, well, you don't know what they are, but it looks like popcorn, and it looks like it's coming towards you. And then you realize it's golf balls, and it's a lot of them, and they're like, and they come, and you think like you're going to be swarmed with golf balls, but they die just before they get to the audience.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So it's like performance art, installation art, a cross between. So
love it.
That was one of the most inspirational art things I've experienced.
Yeah.
Small, unique to South Africa at that time. They existed for maybe, I don't know, 7-10 years possibly.
Right.
And it was a collective of, I think some of them were architects, some of them were engineers, some of them were musicians.
That's crazy.
So that's an example of niche, small.
Yeah.
It's not famous. It's not made $1 million. Like, you guys have probably never heard of them. And I could list a range of stuff that I've seen that are the ones that are really art experiences, whether it's a gallery or that thing I've just described.
Yeah.
And it's these small things that most people will never have heard of.
That's wild.
That's wild.
I love that. I love that. I remember some of those experiences, seeing art installations in Houston, Texas back in the day. And they would have art installation spaces and improvisational jazz and all kinds of weird stuff. And you just go and this is like the stuff that is word of mouth, and it's not super advertised. And someone invites someone, and there's a whole scene, but it's not something that commercially makes a lot of money because a lot of people don't get it. They want the run-of-the-mill stuff. I mean, we've been fed the, shall we say, like, simple carbohydrate diet of art, right?
That's true.
You know what I mean? High fructose corn syrup and white bread. We haven't been given the whole grains, I think, and if I think growing up in a rich environment really does shape you, actually. And I'm very thankful for spending. I know you grew up in Portugal. I mean, you've lived most of your life in South Africa. I spent my whole upbringing in Quebec City, Montreal, which were like art communities. And so between all of those things, I know the three of us definitely were able to take in a lot of that alternative stuff when we were in those formative ages. And that, I know, impacts how you can digest this stuff later on and understand. And I just have to say, like, I believe the counterculture is coming for sure, of made by humans. Let's put a stamp on it. Made by humans. I want to get a petition going for streaming. I know YouTube's doing a great job at this. They're not allowing monetization on videos that are AI entirely. Spotify, I would love to see, and Apple Music and all these other services, a mandatory disclaimer or a labeling on something that is generated entirely by AI, so that humans have the ability to choose whether or not we want something made by humans, or if we want something that was just machine learned and basically assembled from pieces of what the machine considers inspiration.
Captain Beefheart would call it factory beat.
Exactly.
Factory beat.
Yeah, that was back in the 70s.
There you go, right?
I mean, there's another long story to that term he used. It was his way. He was criticizing the big name bands at the time,
right?
As factory beat. So I'm being a little cheeky throwing that in there.
I love it.
I don't know if you guys we're talking about these people that come up sometimes and you don't know them, but they live in their own world. There's a guy that I saw the other day. I don't know if you ever watched this guy. So he has a snare and he goes crazy on the snare. So this guy brings so many people to watch the shows. I was like, this is crazy, man. Like,
and he just has a snare drum?
And he goes and he turns the snare around and he goes and ups and downs and it's just sound.
Wow.
You just hear
wow.
That guy sells a lot, man. You should see, I can't remember his name. Is every time he goes to a place, he goes to a city, it's always full.
Wow.
He plays in small venues.
Yeah.
But it's always full. Him and a snare. Nothing else, man. Nothing else.
That's great. Yeah.
And it just makes sounds.
Yeah.
And I read some reviews. These people are mean. People are mean these days. Society is getting meaner and meaner and selfish and all this stuff. And you can see that I was watching the comments and look at this guy. He's crazy. He has the disease. He has this. He has. No, it's being himself.
Yeah.
Who cares? It's a sound. It's a sound. For him, this sound probably means a lot. Mm-hmm. For us, probably not. But for the people that follows him, means a lot too. So means that he's doing something right.
Yeah.
So,
that's a great example of just needing to find your fans.
Yeah.
You know, and again, it's the Rick Rubin thing. Like, don't make your music to please other people because they probably won't like it anyways if you try to please them. I mean, their tastes change so quickly. People, you know, if we chase a trend, that trend that we're chasing has already been out for a period of time before we release something. So you have to be ahead of it, in a sense, if you're trying to do trends. But really, you know, if you do something that you love, you're doing for yourself, and you're very passionate about, you will find fans who are on the same wavelength, 100%. Especially if you're good, you know what I mean. You're doing something well, even if a whole bunch of people don't understand it. If it's a weird thing, I think you'll find fans.
And I think with what you said there, like one of the threads there, it's the love. Mm-hmm. Back to your thing. You're starting with the love or the intuition. That's you know, and I think I agree with you. Like the 70s, 60s, I think people came more from that immediate soul heart space. And I think if you're coming from that love, whether you make money or not, I think what I'm trying to spit out is that you are participating in this seamless river of the creative force. Beyond commercialization, there's all of those people before you, all the bands, all the dancers, all the the musicians, the filmmakers, the painters, and it's a seamless continuum. And you know, by picking up your snare and falling in love with that and doing that and expressing that, or whatever it might be, if we have that in our sights, that we're participating in something that's greater than us, and it's and we are flowing on the shoulders of all those that came before us, of creative practitioners. Maybe that's a big word, but anyone can participate. It's open source. So if we see it from that sense of love, you're contributing your expression of love to the river that's always been there and always will be there, even when you're gone. Then that's a different way of seeing and experiencing, and you know, it means I can be a listener and and someone who experiences art, but I can also participate. It means anyone else can too. Right. And we're seeing that is one, I think, good thing that's coming out of some of like a lot of the clips and reels and whatnot, is there is a lot of that. You're seeing people just exploring and being curious and not being inhibited. So I think if that spreads, that serves a serious function, I believe. Beyond the commercialization or the music industry, it functions first and foremost on a human level. That's where I have hope. So when you, Vaxxo, when you tell that story of that dude on the snare, like that,
yeah, there was
that, I love that. That's
but the venue was completely full, and then I saw different venues full.
Wow.
Full. And he plays in the middle, so people just surround him.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's it. But it's funny how we're talking about the mainstream, and we have a good example of the mainstream. I don't know if you guys agree with me, because I'm not perfect and I might saying something wrong, but in the 70s, when everything started funneling into the mainstream, then you have a David Bowie that comes out and boom.
Yeah.
There's always, I think we always got to have one guy or one band or that it's got to come out different, and it's got to make the difference in a way. And
yeah, it takes a poster person to do that for sure, in my opinion. Like there's always someone who inspires people to think differently. Again, it's a thought leader, right?
Yeah.
Like how can we all take inspiration from people like that who are thought leaders?
Yeah.
You know, don't worry about what people think. What do you love? What makes you tick? Because if we were all really honest with who we are, I think other people would find that fascinating.
Yep.
It's when we try too hard to protect and mask what we show to other people that I believe we become uninteresting. And this is why AI generated stuff is uninteresting, because it's sort of like pop level stuff. It's the pop culture things that are all assimilated into this machine learning algorithm that creates this thing. It's not really creating this underground, interesting, authentic in any way kind of thing. So yeah, I think there's tons of hope. I actually think this is a great time, especially with the tensions in the world, the rise of, dehumanization with AI and all this kind of stuff, that I think authentic human expression is going to become the most interesting and fascinating thing. I think that's just going to be, it's going to be pinnacle.
It's the best time to go handmade, basically.
Yeah.
Handmade.
Yeah. Well, case in point, right? Like
exactly.
Look at how beautiful. Like
this is amazing.
Handmade. Man. Like
this speaks culture.
So,
I'm looking at these, and mine is here too. But I look at these, and I can see like there's culture here. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Do they actually have? I haven't checked if they have CDs in them. Like,
you gave us a CD with no CD.
They do. Yeah. These ones have CDs.
Okay,
sure.
Yeah.
No,
Because
you're safe. You're safe.
If there is
your check at the end, don't worry. No, but it's this is amazing, man.
I know.
So forgive me for interrupting, but just seeing you guys respond made me, just now going back to the CD covers, it just flashed on my brain. So what you're partly responding to, you could argue, is the story.
Yeah.
So back to the AI thing, I think the flash that I got in the last couple minutes was just that the fact that AI can whip out a song in, say, 3 minutes or whatever it is, it's stripping that human thing that we relate to of the process.
Yeah.
And it's stripping that
the story.
Right. And that is inextricably linked to a piece of art in how we receive it or respond to it. It's the story of it, how it was made, the story of it right here, right now. Like, so seeing you guys respond to this, this artifact, this analog artifact is mind-blowing. Like, who would have thunk that 30 years later, or almost 30 years later, I'd be here on a podcast with 2 actual CD covers, and that it would generate this conversation. So I think you've made a good point. I think there is going to be possibly a hunger for that authentic voice, and that's what's going to be interesting.
Yeah,
and it's going to be the story,
right,
and the process of that voice or those voices.
Totally.
Maybe it's a choir. Maybe it's a beatbox choir that imitates electronica, or I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, when you're a young artist and you're starting up, worked with a ton of young artists who then want to hire a PR person to work a campaign.
Yeah.
And the biggest hurdle is always, especially when you're young, is not yet having much of a story. So in a sense, the more experience you have, the more interesting your PR story is.
Right.
But so PR works closely with the artist to develop, okay, tell me some bits and we're going to make, because everyone, even at a young age, has a story. We just have to figure out what it is. But, shaping that is actually has to be so intrinsic to their media presence. Like, they need a story. Everybody needs a story. If you just, come out and it took you 30 seconds to make stems because you used AI and then you uploaded it online, basically an evening with your computer is the most dull story possible. So, again, like you're right, that human experience. And I will say the other thing I think that's led to the devaluation of music, and perhaps is hope for the future, is that we've lost album stores.
Yeah.
But there's been a rise in record stores.
Yeah.
So in a sense, like Sonic Boom in Toronto, or Play at a Record, and here in Collingwood, Mad Dog, Vinyl Cafe, are keeping that alive. And so I took my daughter yesterday to the vinyl store. They were blasting some Oasis, and instantly I was like, oh, I gotta go find an Oasis record. And I was digging through the piles and of amazing albums. And
that's a song right there,
right?
Taking your daughter to the vinyl store.
Yeah, totally. There's so much to write about now. And I just thought, this is giving me hope, because the tactile connection to music, having something printed on a disc, particularly vinyl, you could play that medium.
Yeah.
In a million years from now, someone could find a vinyl and they could figure out how to make that produce a sound, because it is truly 100% analog.
Yeah.
So the groove is imprinted with the actual sound waves.
Yeah.
So how cool is that? Whereas when everything comes off of your one device, it's usually a phone, it's sometimes a laptop, a tablet. It's less special. Like that's like your entertainment box, but it's discardable in a sense. Like it's not something that you're going to keep. Even you're going to get rid of your phone. You're going to get a new one. Yeah, you have a music streaming account with playlists that you've saved and albums and things like that. But it's not the same experience of having to sacrifice, what used to be $25 for a CD, or $15 for a cassette, $35 for a vinyl. Now it's closer to 50 to 70
bucks,
right? For most vinyls. So now when I go to buy vinyl, I really have to think about what vinyl do I want to buy?
Yeah.
Which one am I going to buy this month?
Because it's so expensive.
You know what I mean? Because it is, but then it's so special because we have it. And I've been like teaching the kids how to like flip the record and like put the needle on. I was showing Bowie, my youngest, yesterday. I said, you put the needle down right in that little empty spot at the top of it. And then you'll make sure that you catch the front of the song. And she was fascinated by that. And then this learning experience. You have the connection to the location of where the music's being played, which is usually your living room or your family room, your bedroom, wherever your vinyl player is. And you're not really taking it with you. Actually, you're kind of like you're sitting down and it's an event listening to this thing. Not there's anything wrong with taking it around. I mean, I had a Walkman too, and it was a very similar experience to having an iPhone. But just the whole ritual and those synapses in our brains that we make with this connection to the experience of listening to music, then we're creating a story on the back end of it with our experience. I remember where I was when I first heard that album. I remember, like, honest to goodness, I can remember some core memories. I remember hearing Oasis's Wonderwall the year it came out, and I was at the La Ronde, which is the amusement park in Montreal. It's like a Six Flags park. And I was wandering there with my friends. We were trying to pick up girls. And I think it was 14, 15 or something. We were trying to pick up girls, and this Oasis song comes on, and they're playing the video on the big screen. And I just remember going like, this is such a feeling, and it captured the moment.
Yeah.
You know, what a time. And so music is so linked to all that stuff. Like how often, like there are albums that I can't listen to. Like there's a Dido album with White Flag, you know that album?
Yeah.
I can't listen to that album because it reminds me of a really depressing time in my life. So it's like, it's good and bad, but it's like, but I love that, like the feeling. And so I don't know, like the more like experiential stuff that we have related to music, the more incredible and deeply meaningful that music becomes to us, I think.
I think so. Maybe like again, that's another flash. It's that like experience of being enchanted, and you don't even know it. Like you got this record, and you're holding it, and you're listening to it, and your dad showed you how to put it on the thing, and so you're listening, and you're taking in this, and maybe there's popcorn in the background, the smell, and like you're in this. I don't know what else to call it. Like you're enchanted.
That's my house for sure. There's always the smell of popcorn in the background because I'm slightly obsessed.
It's funny because going back into the albums, I was a big fan of Rod Stewart when I was a kid. Rod Stewart, and then he came out with that album, Baby Jane. Baby Jane, don't leave me hang. And then I was in love with that. I was like, oh my gosh, I was probably like 6 or 7.
Wow.
And it's funny because no, I was actually older by that time. But my uncle had like a thing to play the turntable. And I used to walk to his place because he had the album. I used to walk to his place just to hear that, and I will sit in front of that thing. So that's how amazing. That's why I call this a piece of art, because that's how amazing this does to you. These things are so important to you in your life. And a good story about the vinyl albums. My daughter, she's in love with Taylor Swift, that age. Like she's 9, she loves Taylor Swift. The other day we're talking and I go, okay, Emily, I'm going to download Spotify so you can take to Portugal and stuff. You can hear. You want Taylor Swift? No. She's like, no, I want the vinyl. Because I have a bunch of vinyl.
Oh, wow.
And I go, really? So I bought the album.
The Tortured Poets Department?
No, was the, what was that thing, man?
1989.
I don't.
Midnights.
I don't know. You know.
Does it have the one with Karma on it? Is that?
No, he has a bunch of songs.
Cruel Summer.
Dude.
Rainbow cover.
It's a great album. It's
Folklore.
No, not Folklore.
No.
Let me call it. No. No, but it's
Get
funny.
your daughter on the phone right now.
I thought exactly. I thought that she wanted that just because she wanted that. The other day I got home and she's playing that thing. And I go, wow, hey, how did you learn? I've been watching you. I know what you do here. So I grab my vinyl thing, I put it there, and I put this on top, and see, it's playing. And I was so proud, man. I was like, she's 9, man. She wants Spotify. She wants all these things that she doesn't care about. But she actually, I was like, oh man, a tear came down.
That's a rock dad story.
Oh, dude, it was so good. Like I got home and I looked at my wife and I go, is she playing that thing? Or it's like Spotify? No, it's playing. And I, oh my, Emily, come here, good job. No, but it's important. It's got to create something on her that she's got to remember that for the rest of her life, right?
Yeah.
The same way, I don't know if you guys remember when, let's say, once again, Rod Stewart, he's got to release an album, and they will say the day on TV, this album is going to release on the 20th of June. And I remember on that day, all the stores, they had like a lineup outside. I'm not saying Rod Stewart or whatever, like David Bowie, Queen, whatever. And I remember all these stores in Portugal, they had like these little huge lineups waiting for the store to open so they can. Now you don't see that. We lost that. We lost that connection with art, with the product, right? With something that make us happy, right?
Yeah. And
another thing is, you will buy a CD or a vinyl, whatever, and you will listen to it, everything.
Yeah,
right?
you listen to every song.
Yeah,
a cassette, you will listen to it, and you will go back and with the pen, and you know what I mean. They don't do that anymore. Usually. And from my experience, and I do the same, listen to one single or something that catches my attention, right?
Yeah.
we lost that connection with music. I find. I don't know if you guys are the same, agree with me or not.
Totally.
But we kind of lost that, and it's so sad.
That erosion.
Yeah.
Of the love of music, like it's just like
so sad. Wow. Even I was watching a thing about Detroit, like in that time, the metal, art rock the other day, and people around that time, they were crazy about music. Detroit changed a lot of like the music, like like in the rock era, but like the community, the society was crazy about like the new rock and this and that. It's coming out and let's go to the store. Same thing.
Yeah.
But there's no more. It disappeared, completely disappeared. But I think who created that was TV, social media, all the media.
Yeah.
They created that. They stopped that, basically.
Have you noticed too, it's interesting, when Facebook first came out, there was the ability to play audio files on it. And this was in the first iteration of Facebook. You could upload an audio file, and then what happened was, I think it was because people were scarred from the MySpace days where they were being added by bands, and and I remember back in the day, I would add 100 people a day on my band's page.
Yeah,
I would just create friends, and then they'd probably check me out. And I remember I had something like 6,000 followers or something because I went in and just manually added everybody. And it was a bit of a grind, but that's what you did back in the day. But people were sick of being solicited by bands, and so because it was a free promotional tool, and so Facebook, they kiboshed the audio file, and then all of a sudden you had to use a video, so you could put photos online and you could post a video that had an attachment of an audio file, but you couldn't do simply audio. So what happens actually is that video is much more addictive to your brain, as we all know, right? Like it's music is a much more natural kind of thing. Like video is like it's a beautiful medium when used correctly, but in the way that through the years, how it's been manipulating people's brains into this shorter and shorter and shorter attention spans, and creating this sense of, it's like we're dopamine deprived all of a sudden, and so I think there's really something about, something to be said about that, like that music from a high level its importance has been diminished. In the name of profit, in my opinion.
Of course.
And isn't it interesting that in the name of profit, one of the byproducts, or probably intended, is that it's diminished our attention spans, which makes us worse listeners. Which has implications for how we tolerate each other, or how we have that civil discourse. And that's, to me, is like, I think it's so obvious to me that the time that we're in right now, I don't see a lot of evidence of good listening between people or groups or individuals, whether it's online or, I don't think we're great listeners. And music teaches you to listen.
100%.
And like, if you listen to a whole album, you listen to it intently. You take in the whole thing. Maybe you're doing dishes, but for the most part, like, you're allowing that. It's a whole album. It's not just one song and then swipe left.
That's right.
So, these are the kind of coordinates on this uncharted terrain that we're in, and I believe it's up to us to change, to play a part. And that's why these stories are so important. Like your story of, the queues of people that used to line up for whatever the new album was. We need to hear those stories, and to be able to kind of, even if you weren't born then or weren't there, to get a sense of what was, and that can help us understand, where we've come from and the choices, and let that inform, like, what choices are we going to make right now, regardless of what age you're in, what age you are. And to me, it comes down to listening. So from my experience this far down the road as an artist, if I had to put it into words, I'm trying to inspire listening.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's as simple as that. And that's a distinction from the visual.
Yes.
You know, I'm trying to use sound, words that come from my voice or singing or sound through the guitar or the combination of, to inspire some kind of listening, deep listening that kind of compels you to get over your dopamine hit and your fractured kind of attention span and inspire you to kind of to stay with something and just give it a chance.
Yeah.
Not just with my song, but give that person a chance to finish what they started saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or give that album a chance, but give something a chance, because I think that's where differences can be made.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anyways,
it's interesting. Music is definitely something that has more of a physical. There's the vibration component. Like obviously, light impacts us on a very high level. It's very instantaneous.
Yeah.
When we see something, it hits our brain really quickly. And that information's processed really quickly. And of course, like all through history, it would have been like a safety mechanism. Like you see something out of the ordinary, and you run for your life or whatever it is. So like we're meant to be able to use that as a protectionary thing. But sound is so interesting because it's slower. The speed of sound is much slower than the speed of light. It vibrates. Again, they are not able to achieve complete stillness in the universe, even with the temperature of absolute zero, where they slow things right down. They cannot get anything to stop vibrating. Everything is just vibrating all the time. Yep. And so it's interesting because you can't really make music go away. Music is such a part of us. We are music,
you
right?
Can't make music go away.
Right.
I like that.
But true. You can certainly detract from it and sort of, emphasize something different. So it's quite an interesting thing when you think about, that more immediacy that light has and video and like all those things where, we receive them very quickly and we're sort of, we're over it quicker. How many times do you want to watch a movie? You might want to watch it. Maybe your favorite movie you watch 10 to 20 times, maybe. Yeah. Your favorite song, I mean, come on. You'll listen to it 100 times, right? Of course. Yeah. So it's just a different thing. I actually don't know what the conclusion is, other than it just feels like something that takes more concentration, but in the end is actually more our natural thing. It's like we're meant to be in music. We're meant to be receiving this, these vibrations.
We are talking not long ago about not having music at all. Remember? Yeah. Imagine if there was no music in the world. This will be so sad, man. But still, there will be no music, but there will be sounds. And sounds creates some kind of music, basically. You just don't have chords. Yeah. But they're sounds. And going back into the African roots, that's how the drums started. I might be wrong, but that's the only place in the world that they started with drums, right? It's all about sounds, hitting something, connecting by hitting with making a sound, right? Yeah. And if there was no music, we still had sounds. Yeah. It is what it is.
We'd make music out of what we had.
A tuna can. No, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. We should change these, but we're too small to change this mainstream, right? But if people get together in a way that they can force into the mainstream with different stuff.
Yeah, people lead the charge, right? Of course. And I really like the idea of be the change you want to see. So, you lead by example and in kindness. And again, like, we don't want to sit around and sound like, grumpy guys who just hate everything about the world and the way music's going and everything. It's more like
it's me.
Me. It's just it's the perspective of like we know what once was, and I mean it's not all. We have this idyllic picture of how it was. There are many things about the world today that are far superior to the way that they were in the 90s, right? The age of communication has brought its own joys as well as challenges. But it's just, stewarding that responsibly and kind of like, how do we make the best of it? And then again, just keep that human connection. That's really my thing. It's like, just keep the authenticity and the humanity. And if we can hang on to that, we will make really, really good art. You know, I think so.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and to add to that, it's, you know, I think we can honestly say, regardless of whether people have been able to make money out of their art, they're still making art.
Yeah.
yeah,
And they're
that's
still
right.
making good art
Yeah,
from their soul, and it's still carrying on.
yeah,
So it's not over. And that I find interesting, because let's just talk about music. It's harder than ever, I reckon, for a musician in this day and age to make money from your music.
yeah,
We've got all the tools, but you know, there's oversaturation, whatnot. But people are still making music.
yeah.
I'm one of them. Like I do ask myself, like, why am I doing this? Well, I just am. That's all I know is this is what I do.
Yeah.
I just, and if I don't do it, well, that's maybe the conversation I have. If I don't do it,
Yeah.
I'm not balanced. I'm not a good person to myself and other people. So that's one reason I've found to keep going, is because I'm more in my element doing this than not.
Yeah.
And
Of course, this is your gifting,
yeah.
right? And if you don't use your giftings, I believe it's like God gives us each a gift, a primary purpose to share with other people.
Yeah.
It's not even, and yes, it blesses you, but really it is actually made to share with people. And so when you're out of alignment with that, it becomes this thing that nags away at you until you do something about it. I find, you know, and just again, I think I've told you about this, but I have a few friends who didn't go down that path and wish that they had, and it kind of eats them alive.
Wow.
You know, and then there's little, like, you know, just really the moments that they get where they do pour back into music or arts, it means the world to them, but really they crave that and they wish, and again, it's because they were given that gifting and they're not making good on it. And so it's an interesting thing, right? Like it's sort of like when you're out of alignment with your life's purpose, you know it, right? And you feel like fulfilled when you are. And I will say, music and art is its own reward. So the money is bonus.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you get paid just by doing it. Right? Yeah. It's such a beautiful thing. It's
exactly,
you know. So anything else is just icing on the cake.
Yeah. And with that as well, you know, I think we're all creative in some way. We have that potential. We have a gift, but not everyone is. It comes through artistically. So I think what I'm learning now, and you know, might be interesting to talk about this, is, you know, not everyone understands what it takes to make a song or to write a book. If that's not your sort of field,
right?
I think we all relate to in some way to process. The evolution of the natural evolution of something, but it's not obvious to a lot of people what it takes to create an album, a song, get a band together, and that's okay. But it's occurring to me more and more now. It's like, because I had a default, like, is it not obvious?
Yeah,
right.
That this is an organic process that takes time. You know, it involves natural rhythms. Rhythms, not machine rhythms, natural rhythms, you know, human heartbeat.
That's right.
Does that, you know, connect all those dots? Does it not make sense that it takes its own time?
Yep.
That you can't squeeze it and force it.
That's right. And there's no set time. I mean, I love that about the process too, is it's like you have things that come together quickly and things that take years. And I always find like inspiration can just shrink into that moment that you need it to happen in, or it might need that percolating time where it's just this extra long kind of thing that just, you know, it needs time to breathe.
Yeah.
You know?
Vaxxo, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're aware that the album that Ben is helping us finish is over 10 years in the making.
Hey,
so,
you know,
it's a percolator.
And you know, he's how we came together at this time is a whole nother story. But we tried to finish this album before I moved from Cape Town, and the album, the music, the songs just wouldn't have it.
Yeah.
And so there's an example of like, okay. And I can honestly say, and this is just my opinion, but my experience is that the songs have become better. They've matured.
Yeah.
We've tweaked some of the arrangements and some of the lyrics. And they're giving Rob and I this energy that was unexpected.
Yeah.
So that's that we're being paid in this joy, this revelation of like these songs maturing in a way. It's Uda Thunk. Like who'd have thunk? We're flabbergasted, and so that's
such an appropriate band name.
Yeah, but sometimes it takes the time that it takes, right? Like something you can control.
Yeah.
I find just look at Chinese Democracy from Guns N' Roses. It took like but it's
so this is the running joke now with this album that I'm finishing with My Sugar. We started it in 2019. So this is 6 years and counting. And I'm like, and now the running joke is it's turning into Chinese Democracy Part 2. Because, exactly.
It must, there's always a reason for everything, I find. If the time is not right, I think God has something there for you that says, hey, now it's the time.
Yeah.
No, it's the same thing.
I mean, case in point, yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing as this podcast. Same thing as your album, his album, my stuff, like my music as well. I mean, it's everything. It's got to be on time. Don't put pressure. That's the way that I actually think. I stopped putting pressure on myself.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna put pressure in. This song needs to get out. I quit. I actually quit doing albums, and we talked about that. I prefer doing singles. I feel happier because there's a gap in between each single, and it creates more attention. Obviously, for people that likes my songs, but there's always a time, man.
It's a mysterious thing, isn't it?
Yeah, because I find that if you put pressure on yourself, you know what, this single needs to get out tomorrow. It's not gonna come out right. It's not gonna come out the way that and then you gotta regret. Right, there's always that thing. Yeah, man, if I had waited like a little bit longer, maybe it was different, maybe it was better. So if I don't put, I'm talking for myself. I don't put pressure on me for anything in life. I start putting pressure on me.
That's so good.
That's it. I don't feel good with myself if I put pressure on me. It's got to create a lot of stress on the way that I act. So yeah, let it go. Let it breathe.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the reason why it took 10 years. Maybe now you have something way better than you had 10 years ago. Maybe it was supposed for you to work with band, but you never met. Yeah. And that's something that that's why the album took longer. Yeah.
That's wild.
It's not to say as well that an album or whatever the project might be, it's not to say that also can't just drop out of the sky and suddenly you've galvanized yourself and it's done in 10 days. Some of these stories of classic albums that Uda Thunk again.
Right.
So that can happen.
Exactly.
And it comes down to the listening of what it's that thing we spoke about of serving the song.
Yeah.
Serving, tuning and listening. What's being called for here?
Right.
And sometimes it necessitates bang, action. Let's get it done. You're flying to Portugal and we've only got this time. This is working, so we've got to milk it while we can.
Yeah.
That kind of story. Yeah. So it's not to say it can happen anyway, and it just asks the artist to be open. And that's the thing with Rob was part of the beauty is the collaborative side of it. Because after I got out of drumming, I became a solo artist as a spoken word poet, and so this accidental thing of collaborating, it was Rob's wife that said, "Hey, why don't you guys go and have a smoke and just go and jam?" And so it was accidental, and then it became this songwriting partnership that taught me really the power and joy and beauty of collaboration. It's like way more powerful than my solo stuff.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's a gift. Like I never engineered that.
Yeah.
It's just part of the story and part of the evolution
naturally
of being an artist and just I don't smoke that much weed. So that was, and we can blame Rob's wife. But,
that's legal, so don't worry about it.
It wasn't
then. Right, it wasn't then. Yeah, now it's totally fine.
That's so rock dance.
Yeah,
exactly.
No, but it makes sense. Like everything has their time. Like,
yeah, no, exactly. Things line up, and I love what you said about collaboration too, because I find I've always enjoyed things that I've done in collaboration more than just alone.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your poetry career, because you're going to play a song for us, and you're also going to do a poem.
Yeah.
Which, thank you for agreeing to do that.
it's awesome.
Was that your sort of rebellion against music for a while, to go into poetry and to do the rebellious thing, and then to reintegrate back into music with Uda Thunk and your solo music career?
That's such an interesting question. Like that's I would never. Yeah. Well, I wish I could give you like something as dramatic in a way as an answer, but it's really, really basic and simple. I was, I got released from the band, and I had to get a job.
Yeah.
And I was also in a very tricky immigration sort of situation, because I had applied for a work permit on the basis of being in this band.
Oh, wow.
And suddenly I'm in this gray zone. And it was, South Africa was changing its immigration laws at the same time. So I was in this really murky kind of water. So I needed money, and I needed a job where I could show them I've got income. I've got an official job in the immigration department. So I'm telling you that story because as I did that, I found myself not being creative, and I started going like dilly, like I was starting to go mad.
Whoa.
And out of necessity, or accidentally, I started going through old doodle books and journals, and just like with no idea of poetry or anything, I just, was looking at drawings I did, and there would be like bits of writing. And so I started reading stuff, and then I started going, that's interesting.
Huh.
And like a lot of the different bands that I was in, we workshopped the songs together. I wasn't a contributing lyricist, but it taught me a bit about the process. And so I sort of had ideas of, well, one day, maybe I'm going to write a song. So I had it somewhere in me that, maybe I can bring lyrics to the band.
Right.
So I started going through all of those books, and then reading it, like these little bits of journal entry, and started finding words that like just popped out at me, and I started putting them all into my computer on a document, or kind of rolling document. And then something started happening where I started rearranging them, and these are words that came from 5 years over there and 10 years, and I'm just playing.
That's great.
And I was just started playing, and I kept reading more and kept digging deeper, and something happened. And I didn't know anything. And then I was at a yoga class, oddly, and I just was listening to the instructor and doing the poses. But I found myself arranging this one poem, which became the first poem I wrote. It was Pink Churches, which is a boxer's mantra. So I started arranging it in the yoga class, the words, and but I started arranging it with a sense of song.
Oh,
but
cool.
It was a poem, but I didn't know anything about poems. So I went back home quickly and did that, and realized, oh, that's interesting. Like that, what is it? Is it a song? Is it a poem? I didn't know, but I just kept going. I just carried on. And then a mate of mine said, hey, didn't you know, like there's this thing called open mic, and there's this whole culture of cafes and where people go and share poems.
Right.
He said, you should go. And by the way, there's this movie called Slam, which has the main character who's like one of these people who writes poems in New York City and goes to these open mics. And so that's where the impetus came. And he said, you should go and read one of your poems. But I didn't plan this. I wasn't choosing this. And if you'd asked me, I would have like said, stay away, anything to do with poetry. But so that's where I got into it. And then I realized oh wow, like this is, you're stepping out from behind the drum kit and the band, and you're suddenly just there with just you and your voice and your poem.
Yeah. Wow.
And so I started so the main thing is that it was a creative outlet alongside this full-time job where I was the manager for this mini candle factory workshop retail space.
Right.
So here was this creative outlet that became something where I could get back to being creative.
Cool.
And then it was alongside a culture that became global. Slam poetry became a global phenomenon.
Right.
And spoken word is part of that. So I started doing slams and then realized, like it has its place, but that's not really where I see myself going or being permanently. Right. So I just kept writing, and then alongside that I was doing a lot of reading. Because the minute I left school, I stopped reading. So the combination of reading and writing created this explosion. Yeah. And that's where it set off this trajectory of where I am, what's brought me to here.
Right. Yeah. Amazing.
That's fantastic.
I remember I think the first time I ever heard slam poetry was in the Mike Myers movie. So I Married an Axe Murderer. Do you remember that? Harriet.
Yeah.
Sweet Harriet.
It is poetry.
Yeah.
But I just, it's what's fascinating to me is how you've taken that and you have turned that into a musical expression. It's such an interesting hybrid thing that you have going on to me. Is this, you've taken your rhythm, your sense of rhythm, coming from a drummer background. Not only have you applied that to your guitar playing, but you've applied it to the way that you deliver lyrics. Yeah, so I find it very interesting how you've melded all these elements and just created something new. Again, I applaud you for just doing something where I'm sure lots of people would have told you, don't do that. It's funny, even the first time that you had sent me a demo of yours, I was like, oh, cool. I could hear like a bass on this and like all these instrumental ideas. And then I remember us sitting down, you were like, yeah, cool. But I think I have this thing I want to do, and it's much simpler than that. And then that whole thing of, we got microscopic on the details of the acoustic guitar mix and what the vocals were doing when, and bringing effects in and out and just creating this real interest but it was really all about the core instruments and not embellished with 1,000 layers that were kind of hiding the nakedness. I mean, you were not clothing your music essentially, right? It's just out there and it's raw.
Yeah.
So absolutely.
That's awesome.
I love being a part of that and really, really appreciate what you have, brought to the table. So,
well, thank you. Really, it's just great to have someone who's open to that, and the timing is no accident.
Yeah, I firmly believe that things as you said earlier, like they unfold in their time.
Yeah,
when they're supposed to. It is an absolute. The doors will not open until they're meant to open.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So
I agree with that.
Amazing. Well, Crocky, would you be interested in doing a poem for us?
Yeah, come on. It's what I do. This is Free Range Moth. And it's from about, I don't know, somewhere in the 2000s, I think is when I wrote it. So it's in that phase of becoming a spoken word artist, not yet having picked up the guitar and delved into songwriting as a craft yet. So this is like right in the kind of that explosion of diving right into being a spoken word artist.
Wow.
From being in the context of living and immersing myself in South Africa.
Yeah.
Let me find myself here. Okay. Free as a free range moth, blinded by delight. It's a crash course in wake-up calls where there's no peace of mind, just price of mind. It's called prices. Did you get that? It's a criss-cross crisis. We're shitting our minds because our minds have a long way to fall. It's hectic, 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 hectic. It's beyond poetic. I guess we all get to be dumbfounded in the fun-folded, flippant time. Hopefully everybody downloading Mind, searching like a little sniff, Snoopy, snoof, sniff, Snoopy, snoof. Oh, there we are, juggling curveballs. Trying to connect dot to dot. Deja vu, deja vu, deja vu, deja vu. It's still a crisis. Criss-cross crisis. Stash upon stash of Zimbabwean cash, where money as we know it is the truest lie of all, and it's keeping our self-destruction in business. How much longer must we suck petrol pump penis? Charcoal lipstick kiss on our lips, apocalypse. Whoa. In the face of so much time ache, in the face of so much dream ache, it looks like things gone dodgy octagon. Unison of everything becoming its worst, everything becoming its best, because the past is living rent-free in our soul. So what is going to win our souls now? If this is all love, how do we forgive love? How do we love without lying? When will we realize the only revolution left is tree-like? The only revolution left is tree-like. So let your roots take wing. Let your roots take wing.
Wow, that's awesome, man. That's
So
awesome.
good. Love it.
You know what? It's so funny because when did you write that?
I think 2005, somewhere around there, 2007 maybe.
You could apply that for today, like for this.
Yeah, for everything today. It's funny. Yeah, those lyrics
so,
become more relevant with time.
Yeah.
Oh
somehow.
my gosh, completely.
Yeah, it's nuts, eh? So that's poetry teaching me to listen.
Wow.
And then these
That's
words
fantastic.
teaches me to observe, be honest. Like, what are you seeing? You know,
That's amazing.
What really needs to be said?
I love that crisis.
Yeah. That's amazing,
Right?
man. It applies to these days, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You wrote that long ago, but it actually applies to the.
I found that with a lot of his
Wow.
stuff. It's funny, listening through those lyrics and even the Uda Thunk stuff where, you wrote it 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden it's come to a new relevance
Yeah.
in the light of today's world, which is interesting. I find it how funny the human condition never really changes. Like the circumstances change and the sort of, scene of the world evolves, but I don't know. There's something relevant, like you look at, yesterday I was reading some of the Marcus Aurelius stuff.
Oh yeah.
Marcus Aurelius, emperor extraordinaire who had all these bits of wisdom from his time as Roman emperor.
Yeah.
And, it's just remarkably stuff that the everyman, every woman today can take away from and go, this is still relevant.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, I find when you're truly tapping into that superhuman, state, it will only become more relevant with time. And I love that thing about the roots as well, like thinking about the plantedness of the roots, but then, let your roots take flight. I mean, what does that mean, by the way? Let your roots take flight. That's such an interesting line.
Well, I guess it's that thing of a tree being, we think of trees as being these sort of fixed, solid things that don't move and don't have names. But trees, when you study trees and you get to learn about trees, they are connectors and they do move and they are alive and they are very much involved in music.
Right.
Think of the birds that come and land on a branch and then another bird and right, that's right up there. But I learned something recently. If you go right down to their root systems and the I don't know what they're called, the filaments, the finest roots, will dig deeper for minerals and moisture. They move in the soil in such a way that they'll move little pieces, little grains of sand. And those grains of sand will chink against each other and create a sound.
Wow.
Albeit small and inaudible to people above ground, but a sound nonetheless.
Wow.
And if you think of from roots to the birds and everything in between, that the trees are are in motion and they're connecting, they're connectors and connective. So I guess the roots taking wing it's a metaphor. Like if we see ourselves, the only revolution left is tree-like. It's to learn about trees, be like trees, and realize how rooted and tuned in they are, and how much they are part of the ecosystem that connects the air and the sky and the ground.
Yeah.
So let your roots take wing is really I suppose it's just saying, it's encouraging everyone to reach your full potential, bloom, become your fullest expression. And that's a revolution. Like, that's a revolutionary act.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
That's amazing.
Sorry, roots take wing. I think I said roots take flight. Yes, that actually, and it's quite beautiful because it's, that's the part that moves you, right?
Yeah.
The wing.
Yeah.
But to think that, it's just so much elaborate communication between all systems in nature, and it's pretty amazing. I mean, the whole idea of getting grounded as well is really cool. Like as humans, to think about grounding ourselves and planting roots, and it's a beautiful concept. That was amazing. That was amazing. I mean, goodness.
Well, thanks,
I'm always
guys.
I watch people do their thing, and I'm always fascinated when I see it's like visual arts, poetry, like everything that I'm not proficient at is fascinating to me, and how it rolls out, and how it is so natural for those who do that.
I know that's what you do, but for me, I love the way that you work. You mix those the words, man. There's so much passion in that.
Yeah,
love that, man.
Absolutely love that.
I have to add something to the story that's important to acknowledge, because like, where does this come from? Okay, it's the obvious story of being a drummer, being in Southern Africa. The thing I told you about the yoga class, but it's also deeper than that. The story I want to tell you is that as I got deeply involved with spoken word, say 7 years deep into it, I realized that, my mom is a writer. She's a poet. She used to be an English teacher.
Wow.
And my father's a judge. So those are my parents. That's my blood.
Wow.
Both my parents work with words deeply.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then it goes deeper than that. My mother's father, my grandfather on my mother's side, was an English professor and a pianist.
Wow.
And he wrote poetry. And the word about him is that people wished he had written more poetry not just been an academic. He was a brilliant academic, wrote academic books. So it hit me one day that I've got this in my blood, and that's partly where it comes from. It's not just having lived in Southern Africa and been a rebel drummer and artist, whatever. It's also, I'm possibly fulfilling my mother's voice, or my grandfather's unfulfilled poetic voice. That you could argue
you've got a piece of each of them in you, which is the most amazing thing to think about. So in a sense, your continuation sort of relied on their having been around, and their, I always take a look at the research on DNA and all that stuff, and it seems to be that your life experiences transmit through your DNA. So it's not like a childlike version of yourself is who your offspring will be, but rather, in fact, your experiences as an adult before the time of reproduction actually changes your DNA and shapes it in such a way that passes on to your children. So including traumas and things like that.
Wow.
But I think many positive things can transfer too. And I'm sure that the arts are a big part of that.
Yeah.
And wordsmithing and passions and demeanors and all kinds of things. So I mean, I look at that and I think we're the product of, millions of people kind of thing, like cumulative, but mostly from our closest relatives, like our parents, right?
Yeah.
But the depth there is just, I mean, it kind of gives you a headache to think about, but it's super profound at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's really amazing.
Love it.
Crocky, would you be interested in singing us a song to
Yeah, I prepared a song. It's not one of mine. I was hoping to maybe do a new song, but there's a whole range of reasons why I not just chickened out, but I thought this would be the song that I'm going to do would be more kind of relevant in the whole context of our conversation.
Well, again, it's likely the one that was meant to be.
Exactly.
So we're super happy to have that. So we're going to set up your mic.
Okay,
and
great.
We'll have you play the song.
Awesome. Here we go. Here we go with a Canadian rendition of Shrink Bigger. I'm a joy bot, constantly on the hunt for some emergency happiness. I'm stuck in this global state of pus, dammed up damage, bubble of denial, third world debt in the throes of thrombosis. I'm struggling to love humans when they need it most. A child once laughed and said to me, just shrink bigger. My destination is love's origin. Meanwhile, I find myself blindsided, sideswiped by winds of change at breakneck speed. It's a gale force guillotine wind cutting to the chase. It's got my mind on the run, only to find myself held up by an army of question marks. Which way to what? Which way to what? I'm a joy bot, constantly on the hunt for some emergency happiness. Can you see I'm trapped in escapism? I'm caught in my own straitjacket skin. The invisible squeeze is upon us now. The great clarification is upon us now. It's turbulence. Reality is taking us for a ride. It's hard to believe your ship's coming in when you feel you're sinking. Sometimes my only freedom is complete surrender. My destination is love's origin. I'm not here to blame you, even entertain you, lead you down the garden path of more smug obliviousness. No. The funny money party's over. We've inherited a nuclear hangover. I'm here to get clear about our schizophrenia. I'm here to excavate ancient instinct. Shrink back to big, shrink bigger. My destination is love's origin. It's hard to believe your ship's coming in when you feel you're sinking. Sometimes our only freedom is complete surrender. Thanks, guys. Much appreciated.
Thanks, Rocky.
Rock.